My name is Nina, and I am 32 years old. As they lowered my husband Michael into the ground, I stood alone, surrounded by strangers with pitying eyes. Not a single family member came. No parents. No sister. Not even Jessica, my best friend since childhood. They all chose my sister Rachel's engagement party instead. As the dirt hit the casket, my phone lit up. A message from Mom. "We need to talk now." Below it, 22 missed calls. If you are watching this video, what would you do in my position? Please like and subscribe to hear how I found strength when everyone I loved abandoned me. Michael and I met during our sophomore year at college. He bumped into me at the library, sending my stack of psychology textbooks flying across the floor. Instead of a quick apology and walking away, he insisted on helping me gather everything, then offered to buy me coffee as compensation. That coffee date turned into dinner, which turned into a movie night, which turned into the most beautiful 5 years of marriage I could have imagined. Our love story was not without obstacles. My family opposed our relationship from the start. Michael came from a working-class background. His father was a mechanic, and his mother a nurse. They were honest, hard-working people who raised their son with strong values and a remarkable work ethic. But to my status-conscious parents, he might as well have been from another planet. "You could do so much better, Nina," my mother would say, whenever his name came up. "Think about your future. He will never be able to provide the lifestyle you deserve." My father was more blunt. "That boy has no connections, no family wealth, nothing to bring to the table except student loans." I ignored their criticisms. Michael had everything that actually mattered. He was brilliant, completing his engineering degree with honors, despite working part-time to cover his expenses. He was compassionate, volunteering at the local animal shelter on weekends, and he loved me unconditionally, supporting my dreams and ambitions without ever making me feel like I needed to change. We had a small wedding. Michael and I saved for it ourselves, refusing financial help from my parents, since we knew it would come with strings attached. My family attended, but their displeasure was evident in their stiff smiles and minimal interaction with Michael's side. My sister Rachel spent most of the reception texting, occasionally looking up to make a snarky comment about the modest venue or the simple catering. Jessica, my maid of honor and best friend since elementary school, seemed caught between worlds. She had always been close with both Rachel and me, but over the years, I noticed her gravitating more toward my sister. That day, she spent more time at Rachel's table than beside me. Still, I was grateful she was there, one of the few connections to my childhood that remained intact. Our marriage was everything I hoped for. We bought a small apartment, both working full-time, me as a marketing coordinator, and Michael as a project engineer, at a renewable energy firm. We traveled when we could afford it, explored the city on weekends, and spent quiet evenings planning our future. We wanted 2 children, a house with a yard, maybe a dog. Normal dreams that felt extraordinary because we would build them together. The contrast between my marriage and my family life grew starker with each passing year. Every family gathering was an exercise in enduring subtle digs about our apartment size, Michael's career trajectory, or why we were not having children yet. Rachel, meanwhile, received nothing but praise for her job at a prestigious law firm, her expanding social circle of influential friends, and her string of wealthy boyfriends. "When are you going to give us grandchildren?" My mother would ask me during family dinners. 10 minutes later, she would turn to Rachel and say, "Take your time finding the right man, sweetheart. Focus on your career. Children can wait." The double standard was blatant, but I had grown accustomed to it. Michael would squeeze my hand under the table, his silent support worth more than my family's approval. Jessica witnessed all of this. She had been there throughout my childhood when my accomplishments were overshadowed by Rachel's, when my parents forgot to attend my high school graduation because it conflicted with Rachel's dance recital, when I received practical gifts for Christmas while Rachel unwrapped designer clothes and jewelry. "Your family is tough," Jessica once admitted after a particularly tense Thanksgiving dinner. But they love you in their way. I nodded, not believing it, but appreciating her attempt at comfort. What I did not realize then was how Jessica had begun to see my family's treatment of me as justified, how she had absorbed their perspective, that I was somehow less deserving of attention and care. Everything changed 6 months ago. Michael had been experiencing persistent headaches and fatigue. We attributed it to stress and overwork until he collapsed during a morning run. The diagnosis was swift and brutal. Stage 4 brain cancer. The prognosis was 6 months to a year with treatment. Without it, less. I called my parents immediately, my voice breaking as I shared the devastating news. "Oh, that is terrible," my mother said, her tone conveying moderate concern at best. "Have you gotten a second opinion? Doctors are always so dramatic." "Mom, we saw 3 specialists. They all said the same thing. Well, these things sometimes resolve themselves. Stay positive." "Oh, before I forget, Rachel just told us she thinks her boyfriend will propose soon. We might be planning a wedding." The conversation shifted to Rachel's relationship, my husband's terminal diagnosis already forgotten. I hung up feeling hollow, though not surprised. When I told Jessica, her initial reaction seemed genuine. Shock, tears, offers to help in any way needed. But as weeks passed and Michael started aggressive treatment, Jessica became increasingly scarce. There were always reasons. Work deadlines, family obligations, her own health issues. "I promise I will visit this weekend," she would text, only to cancel at the last minute. Meanwhile, Michael fought his battle with incredible courage. The radiation made him violently ill. The chemotherapy took his hair and 20 pounds from his already lean frame. I took family medical leave, draining our savings to be by his side every day. I learned to administer medications, manage his diet when he could eat, clean up when he could not keep anything down. I became his advocate, researcher, nurse, and still tried to be his wife rather than just his caregiver. Through it all, my family remained distant. I sent regular updates that received brief acknowledgments. Rachel never visited once. My parents came by for 30 minutes after much insistence, stood awkwardly in our living room, and left with visible relief. Jessica made it to the hospital twice, both times staying less than an hour, visibly uncomfortable around the medical equipment and Michael's deteriorating condition. "People show up differently in crisis," Michael told me one night as I cried beside his hospital bed. "Some cannot handle seeing someone they care about suffer." Even dying, he was making excuses for the people who should have been supporting us. His own friends visited regularly. His parents moved temporarily to our city to help, taking shifts with me at the hospital. The contrast between his people and mine could not have been more stark. As Michael's condition worsened, another announcement came. Rachel was officially engaged to Bradford, a corporate lawyer from a wealthy family. My mother called, excitement bubbling through the phone. "We are planning the most beautiful engagement party. The country club has agreed to host it, and we have booked the best caterer in the city. Rachel wants you to be a bridesmaid, of course." "When is the party?" I asked, already dreading the answer. 3 weeks from Saturday. We wanted to do it quickly while the weather is still nice for photos. My heart sank. "Mom, Michael is not doing well. The doctors say he might only have weeks left. I cannot leave him." A heavy silence followed. "Nina, your sister is only going to get engaged once in her life. Surely Michael would understand if you took one evening to celebrate with family." "He is dying, Mom. My husband is dying." "Well, we will miss you at the party then. I will tell Rachel you send your congratulations." The engagement party was scheduled for the same weekend the doctors had told me to prepare for the end. As if I could prepare for losing the love of my life at 32. Michael's decline accelerated faster than anyone predicted. The experimental treatment we had pinned our final hopes on failed spectacularly, sending him into a seizure that resulted in a week-long hospital stay. His oncologist pulled me aside after stabilizing him. "I am sorry, but we are out of medical options," Dr. Patterson said, her kind eyes filled with genuine regret. At this point, our goal is to keep him comfortable. You might want to consider hospice care. Hospice. The word I had dreaded since diagnosis. It meant giving up on fighting, accepting the inevitable. It meant the beginning of goodbye. That night, I slept in the recliner beside Michael's hospital bed, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, memorizing the rise and fall of his chest. I held his hand, now thin and fragile, veins prominent beneath almost translucent skin. In sleep, the pain lines around his eyes and mouth relaxed, making him look briefly like the man I had married. Our savings were depleted. The medical bills had mounted despite insurance, and my unpaid leave meant no income for months. Michael's parents had helped as much as they could, but they were retired and living on a fixed income. I had swallowed my pride and texted my father, asking if they could help with some of the expenses. "We are a bit stretched right now, with Rachel's engagement party," he replied. "Maybe next month we can look at our budget." Next month, when Michael would likely be gone. During those final weeks, I barely slept. When I did, it was in short bursts, jolting awake at the slightest change in Michael's breathing or a beep from a monitor. I survived on hospital cafeteria, coffee, and granola bars from the vending machine. My clothes hung loose. Grief was consuming me before he was even gone. I continued sending updates to my family, hoping against hope that the severity of the situation would finally penetrate their bubble of indifference. My texts became increasingly desperate. "Michael has been moved to hospice care. The doctors say it could be days. Please come." My mother replied, sending prayers. "By the way, did you see the photos I sent of Rachel's engagement ring? 6 carats. Jessica was no better. So sorry things are tough. I have been helping Rachel with engagement party planning. Totally swamped. We'll try to visit soon." No one came. I watched as Michael, once vibrant and strong, faded a little more each day. He tried to maintain his humor, asking me to sneak in his favorite chocolate milkshakes against doctor's orders. He worried about me more than himself. "Promise me you will take care of yourself after," he said during a rare lucid moment. "Find joy again, Nina. Do not let this break you permanently." I promised, though I could not imagine joy existing in a world without him. The night before Rachel's engagement party, Michael's breathing became labored. The hospice nurse increased his morphine drip, explaining gently that this was often a sign of the final stage. I called my parents. "Mom, I think Michael is going tonight or tomorrow. Please, I need you here." "Oh, Nina," she sighed. "We have guests arriving from out of town for the party. Rachel would be devastated if we were not there to greet them." "My husband is dying," I shouted into the phone, startling the nurse. "Lower your voice," my mother scolded. "You are being dramatic. People die every day. Your sister only gets engaged once." I hung up, my hands shaking with rage and disbelief. I tried Jessica next, my last hope for someone familiar to stand beside me. "Jess, please. I cannot do this alone." "Nina, I am at the salon with Rachel right now. We are getting our hair done for tomorrow. I am so sorry, but I promised her weeks ago I would help with all the preparations." Michael died at 3:27 in the morning, his parents and I holding his hands. He did not struggle at the end. The pain medications kept him comfortable, and his last conscious words to me had been, "Thank you for loving me." I sat with his body until dawn, unable to process that the person I loved most in the world was gone, leaving just the shell that had contained him. My in-laws embraced me, their grief as profound as mine, but tempered by decades more life experience. They helped me contact the funeral home we had reluctantly selected weeks earlier. They stayed as the staff came to take Michael's body, supporting me when my legs threatened to give out. As daylight broke, I checked my phone. No messages from my family. They were probably sleeping, resting for Rachel's big day. I sent a simple text to our family group chat. "Michael passed away a few hours ago. Funeral arrangements to follow." My father responded first. "Sorry for your loss. We will be thinking of you today. Not we are coming over. Not what can we do. Just acknowledgement and distance. My mother. Such sad news. Let us know about the funeral. Busy day ahead with party preparations. Rachel did not respond at all. Jessica sent a private message. Oh my God, Nina. I am so sorry. Do you need me to come over? Before I could respond, she sent another. Actually, I promised Rachel I would help decorate the venue this morning. Can I come by after the party tonight? I did not answer any of them. There were no words left. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of funeral arrangements. Michael and I had discussed his wishes during a rare moment of clarity a few weeks earlier. He wanted something simple, cremation, a brief service with his favorite music, and no religious overtones. He asked that I scatter some of his ashes at Lake Michigan, where we had spent our first anniversary. The funeral home director was kind, but businesslike, as we went through the options. Casket or cremation container? Which urn? What about a memorial pamphlet? Would I like to place an obituary? Each decision felt impossible, final in a way that tore at my already shredded heart. Michael's parents helped where they could, but ultimately respected that these were decisions for me, his wife, to make. I selected a simple wooden casket for the viewing, a blue ceramic urn that matched his eyes, and approved an obituary that seemed woefully inadequate to sum up such a remarkable life cut short. I scheduled the funeral for Tuesday, 3 days after his death. It seemed like an appropriate buffer after Rachel's engagement party on Saturday. Surely my family would attend now that their precious celebration was over. I created a Facebook event with the funeral details and tagged all family members. I sent a group text with the same information. I even emailed my parents and Jessica directly, including a map to the funeral home. The responses trickled in. Mom, we will try our best to be there. Rachel is exhausted from the party, but we know this is important too. Dad, we'll check my calendar and let you know. Rachel, a thumbs up emoji. Nothing else. Jessica, I will definitely be there early to help you set up. Just let me know what you need. Love you. I wanted to scream. My husband was dead at 34. My entire world had collapsed. And my sister was exhausted from her party? My father needed to check his calendar? Only Jessica's response offered any real comfort, though experience had taught me to temper my expectations. On Monday, I selected Michael's burial clothes. The blue suit he had worn to our wedding, now hanging loose where it once fit perfectly. I ran my fingers over the fabric, remembering how handsome he had looked that day, how his eyes had welled up when I walked down the aisle. Jessica called that evening. Nina, I am so sorry about everything. The party was exhausting, and I feel terrible I could not be there when it happened. But I promise I will be at the funeral first thing tomorrow. Do you want me to come over tonight? We could have wine and talk? No, I replied, my voice flat. I need to be alone tonight. I understand. I will see you tomorrow then. 8 a.m. sharp, right? I will bring coffee. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of relief. At least one person from my past life would stand beside me. Tuesday morning dawned gray and drizzly, appropriate weather for the darkest day of my life. I dressed mechanically in the black dress I had purchased online 2 days earlier, applied minimal makeup, and drove to the funeral home. Michael's parents met me there, his mother hugging me tightly. We are here for you, sweetheart, she whispered. Today and always. I checked my phone. 8:15 a.m. No sign of Jessica, no messages from my family. I sent a quick text to Jessica. Are you on your way? 8:30. The funeral director approached gently. Mrs. Wilson, we should prepare to receive guests soon. Would you like to have a private moment with your husband first? I nodded, following him to the room where Michael's casket was displayed. Flowers flanked it, mostly from his colleagues and friends. A large arrangement from his parents. A small bouquet I had selected myself. White roses, mixed with forget-me-nots, his favorite. Nothing from my family. Not even a sympathy card. 9 o'clock. The first guests arrived. Michael's co-workers, his college roommate who had flown in from Seattle, neighbors from our apartment building, all expressing genuine sorrow, sharing stories about Michael that sometimes made me smile through tears. 9:30. Still no Jessica. No family. My phone remained silent. The service began at 10. I sat in the front row between Michael's parents, acutely aware of the empty seats we had reserved for my family. The celebrant spoke beautifully about Michael's life, his accomplishments, his character, friends' shared memories. His boss talked about his contributions to their renewable energy projects, how Michael's work would continue to benefit communities for decades. When it was my turn to speak, I almost could not do it. Standing before the crowd of Michael's people, not mine, the absence of my own family felt like a physical wound. But I had promised him I would be strong. I unfolded my prepared remarks and began speaking about the man who had changed my life, who had shown me what unconditional love truly meant. As the service concluded, my phone vibrated. A social media notification. Rachel had posted photos from her engagement party. I should have ignored it, but some masochistic impulse made me look. There they were, my parents beaming beside Rachel and Bradford, Jessica raising a champagne glass in a toast. Everyone dressed in their finest, celebrating as if nothing else in the world mattered. Which to them, perhaps nothing did. The timestamp on the photos was from yesterday, not Saturday. The party had apparently extended into multiple days of celebration. While I had been selecting my husband's urn, they had been brunching at an upscale restaurant. While I had been writing his obituary, they had been popping champagne. We moved to the cemetery for the burial. The small procession of cars wound through the city, to the quiet grounds where Michael would rest. As they lowered his casket, I stood alone at the edge of the grave. Michael's parents had stepped back slightly, giving me space for a final private goodbye. Rain fell softly, mingling with my tears. I whispered the words I had said to him every night for 5 years. I love you more than yesterday, less than tomorrow. As the first shovel of dirt hit the casket, my phone lit up. A message from my mother. We need to talk now. I glanced at the notification screen. Below it, 22 missed calls. From Mom, Dad, Rachel, Jessica, all within the last hour. I turned off my phone and watched as they buried my husband. The house felt emptier than ever when I returned from the cemetery. Michael's parents had offered to stay, but I needed to be alone with my grief. I moved through the rooms like a ghost, touching his things, breathing in the fading scent of him from his pillow. When I finally turned my phone back on, it immediately began buzzing with notifications, voicemails, texts, missed calls. I started with my mother's text messages. Nina, we are so sorry we could not make it to the funeral. Rachel was not feeling well this morning after the party. Please call us when you get this. We are worried about you. Your father and I feel terrible. We wanted to be there, but circumstances prevented it. My father's messages were similar, full of vague excuses and half-hearted apologies. We could not disappoint Rachel and Bradford's family by leaving the post-engagement brunch early. Jessica's texts were more numerous, increasing in urgency. Nina, I am so sorry. I overslept after the party. Are you getting these? Please respond. I know you must hate me right now. I have no excuse. Please let me explain in person. I am coming over later. Rachel had sent just one message. Sorry about Michael. I was really busy with engagement stuff. Hope the funeral went okay. I set the phone down, too emotionally exhausted to respond to any of them. What could they possibly say to justify missing my husband's funeral for an engagement party that had apparently turned into a 3-day celebration? As I made myself a cup of tea, an email notification appeared. It was from Timothy, one of Michael's colleagues who had attended the funeral. The subject line read, "You should see this." I opened it to find a video attachment. Timothy's message was brief. I happened to be at the Grand Hotel for a business lunch yesterday. Your family was there celebrating your sister's engagement. I thought you should know what was said. I am so sorry, Nina. With shaking hands, I played the video. It showed the hotel's outdoor terrace, decorated with flowers and balloons. My family was seated at a large table, champagne glasses in hand. Bradford was standing, apparently giving a toast. The video was taken from a distance, but the audio was surprisingly clear. Bradford finished his speech, and then Rachel stood up, slightly intoxicated, judging by her unsteady movements. "I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate us," she said, beaming. "Especially my parents who put this amazing party together despite my sister's drama." Laughter rippled through the group. "Seriously though," Rachel continued, "Nina always has some crisis happening. First marrying that nobody engineer against everyone's advice, and now making his illness the center of attention during my engagement." My mother patted Rachel's arm but did not contradict her. My father nodded along. "Thank God you all prioritized what really matters." Rachel raised her glass. "To family who shows up for the important things." The camera panned slightly, and I saw Jessica, laughing and clinking glasses with Rachel. "Nina always was the queen of exaggeration," she added loudly enough to be heard. "Remember when she thought she deserved valedictorian in high school? Or when she acted like her college graduation was such a big deal?" More laughter. My mother leaned toward Jessica. "She called last night saying Michael was dying right then, and we all needed to rush over. On the night before Rachel's party. The timing was so inconsiderate." I stopped the video, physically ill. They had not just missed the funeral due to poor planning. They had deliberately chosen to continue partying, mocking my loss and my grief in the process. With trembling fingers, I scrolled through my text history with Jessica. 3 weeks ago, she had asked about Michael's prognosis. I had told her honestly that the doctors expected him to pass very soon, possibly within days. The next day, Rachel had announced her engagement party date, falling precisely within that window. It had not been a coincidence. Rachel had deliberately scheduled her celebration when she knew my husband might be dying, and my parents and best friend had gone along with it. I found myself scrolling back further, years back, through conversations with my family, pattern after pattern of dismissal, minimizing my achievements, prioritizing Rachel's every whim. Michael had seen it clearly. "They do not treat you with basic respect," he had observed early in our relationship. I had defended them then, making excuses for their behavior. As night fell, I received another text from my mother. "Your father and I want to discuss the family trust with you. We are making some changes and need your signature. Can you come by tomorrow?" I called Susan, a colleague who had become a friend during Michael's illness. She had attended the funeral that morning and offered to come over if I needed company. "Do you know anything about family trusts?" I asked when she answered. "My husband is an estate attorney, actually." "Why?" "My parents want me to sign something about changes to theirs." Today of all days. Susan's voice turned cautious. "Do not sign anything without reading it carefully, Nina, especially not when you are vulnerable. Do you want Richard to look at it for you? Would he mind?" "Not at all. He always says grief and legal documents are a dangerous combination." Before I could reply, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Jessica standing on my porch, holding flowers and a bottle of wine. "Someone is at my door." "I will call you back," I told Susan quickly. I considered not answering, but some part of me wanted confrontation, needed it even. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. Jessica's eyes were red, her makeup smudged. "Nina, I am so sorry. Please let me explain." "Explain what? That you chose a party over being there for me at my husband's funeral? That you laughed while my sister mocked my dying husband?" Her face paled. "What are you talking about?" "I saw the video, Jessica. From the brunch yesterday. I heard what you said about me. That was just. I was just playing along. You know how Rachel gets if you do not agree with her." "No, I do not know. Because I do not betray the people I love to gain favor with others." Jessica's expression hardened slightly. "You have always been so judgmental, Nina, so perfect and martyred. Rachel is right that you make everything about you." "My husband died," I shouted, no longer caring what the neighbors might hear. "He died, And none of you cared enough to be there. Not for the worst moment of my life. We cared. She faltered. You just had more important things to do. Like drinking champagne and laughing at my expense. Nina, please. We have been friends for 20 years. Do not throw that away. You threw it away, I said, suddenly calm. Not me. Please leave. Your family is worried about you. They sent me to check on you, to bring you home. I am home, and they are not my family anymore. Neither are you. I closed the door on her protests, leaning against it as sobs racked my body. The final illusion had been shattered. I was truly alone now, abandoned by everyone who should have loved me since birth. That night was the darkest of my life. Darker even than the night Michael died, because then I had still believed I had people to turn to. Now I knew the truth. The next morning, I woke to more missed calls and a text from my father. We are coming over at 11. We need to resolve this situation. I did not respond, but I knew they would come regardless. For once, I was glad Michael had insisted on our security camera system. I could see who was outside before opening the door. At 10:45, I called Richard, Susan's husband, who had kindly reviewed my parents' trust documents they had emailed overnight. Nina, I am glad you had me look at this, he said gravely. This amendment would effectively remove you from the family trust entirely, redirecting your portion to Rachel. They need your signature, because the original trust established equal distribution between both children. They want me to sign away my inheritance the day after my husband's funeral? The depths of their callousness continued to shock me. Do not sign it. In fact, I would advise having your own attorney review all financial matters with your family going forward. At precisely 11, my doorbell rang. The security camera showed my parents, Rachel, and Jessica, standing on the porch. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Finally, my mother said, pushing past me into the living room. We have been trying to reach you for days. 24 hours, I corrected. Michael has been dead for exactly 24 hours. Do not be melodramatic. Rachel rolled her eyes, dropping onto my couch. We all know he was sick for months. You have had plenty of time to prepare. My father at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Jessica hovered near the door, unable to meet my eyes. Why are you here? I asked, remaining standing while they all made themselves comfortable in my home. We are worried about you, my mother said, her concerned expression not reaching her eyes. Isolating yourself is not healthy. We want you to come stay with us for a while. And we have some family business to discuss, my father added, patting his briefcase. Just a small matter of updating some paperwork. The trust documents that would disinherit me? I asked calmly. Their expressions of shock would have been comical under different circumstances. How did you? Those were private family documents, my father sputtered. Yes, about my inheritance. Did you really think I would sign without reading? Without consulting an attorney? You had no right to show those to an outsider, my mother snapped. Like you had no right to skip my husband's funeral for a party? An uncomfortable silence fell. Rachel broke it with a scoff. Are we still on that? It was not just a party, it was my engagement celebration. A once-in-a-lifetime event. And Michael's funeral was not? My voice remained steady, though inside I was trembling with rage. People die every day, Rachel shrugged. I will only get engaged once. Actually, statistically speaking, with your track record and attitude, you will probably get engaged multiple times, I replied. Rachel's face flushed red. How dare you? I saw the video, I continued, turning to face all of them. From the brunch, I heard what you all said about me and Michael. My mother's face paled slightly. What video? I took out my phone and played it. Their expressions shifted from confusion to embarrassment to defensiveness as their own words filled the room. When it ended, my father spoke first. That was taken out of context. What possible context would make that acceptable? I asked. Mocking my dying husband? Laughing about my pain? Nina, we did not mean. Jessica started. Yes, you did. All of you meant every word. This is who you truly are, who you have always been. I walked to my laptop and opened a folder. I have been thinking a lot about our family dynamics since Michael got sick, about how I have been treated my entire life compared to Rachel. So I started keeping track. I turned the screen toward them. Here are all the birthdays and Christmases where Rachel received expensive gifts while I got practical items. Here are the school events you missed of mine, but attended of hers. Here are the times my accomplishments were ignored while hers were celebrated. 28 years of consistent patterns. This is ridiculous, my mother scoffed. You are acting like a child keeping score. No, I am acting like someone who finally sees the truth. You have never loved me the way you love Rachel. I was always the afterthought, the obligation. And now I know you do not love me at all. Of course we love you, my father insisted. We are here, are not we? You are here with paperwork to cut me out of the family trust. The day after my husband's funeral, which none of you attended. That is not love. Rachel stood up, her patience clearly exhausted. Can we just get this over with? Nina, just sign the papers. It is not like you need the money with your husband's life insurance. The casual cruelty of her statement stunned even our parents into silence. Get out, I said quietly. All of you. Get out of my house. Nina, be reasonable, my mother started. Get out, I shouted, years of suppressed rage finally breaking free. I have been reasonable my entire life. I have accepted being second best, being overlooked, being dismissed. Not anymore. I walked to the door and held it open. From this moment forward, I have no family. No parents, no sister, no childhood friend. You are all strangers to me now. You cannot be serious, my father sputtered. We are your family. Family does not do what you did. Family shows up. Family supports each other through grief. Family loves unconditionally. You have failed on every count. Jessica approached me, tears streaming down her face. Nina, please. I know I messed up terribly, but 20 years of friendship has to count for something. It counted for nothing to you when you chose Rachel's party over Michael's funeral. When you laughed at my pain. When you called me dramatic for grieving my husband. I will do anything to make this right, she pleaded. There is nothing to make right. There is nothing left to save. Please leave. One by one, they filed out. My parents looking shell-shocked. Rachel, indignant. Jessica, broken. As my mother passed, she grabbed my arm. You will regret this, she hissed. When the grief passes, you will need us. I gently removed her hand. No, I will not. Goodbye, Elizabeth. Using her first name rather than Mom was the final severance. Her face crumpled briefly before hardening into a mask of indignation. Without another word, she joined my father at the car. As I closed the door on my former family, a strange sense of peace washed over me. For the first time in my life, I had stood up for myself the way Michael always encouraged me to do, the way he would have been proud to see. That evening, I contacted a therapist specializing in grief and family trauma. I called Susan and thanked her and Richard for their help, and I began researching support groups for young widows and for people who had cut ties with toxic family members. My new life was beginning, built on the ashes of everything I had lost, but for the first time, I would be putting myself first. The weeks following my confrontation with my family were both the hardest and most liberating of my life. Grief came in waves. Sometimes when I least expected it, I would find myself sobbing in the cereal aisle because they stocked Michael's favorite granola or breaking down while folding his t-shirts, still carrying his scent. My therapist, Dr. Laurel Anderson, helped me understand that I was processing two profound losses simultaneously: my husband and my family of origin. Complex grief, she called it, explaining that the betrayal by my family had complicated my mourning process for Michael. You have experienced what we call disenfranchised grief, she explained during one session. Your loss was not acknowledged or supported by those who should have been your primary support system. That creates additional trauma layered on top of the loss itself. I attended my first widow's support group meeting 3 weeks after the funeral. Walking into that community center room was one of the hardest things I had ever done. Admitting I belonged there made Michael's death real in a new way. The group consisted of 8 women, ranging from their 20s to their 70s. What united us was not age, but experience. The particular pain of watching someone you love fade away. The administrative nightmare of death certificates and insurance claims. The well-meaning but painful questions from acquaintances. Are you dating again? Are you over it yet? There I met Sarah, 36, and widowed for almost a year after her husband's sudden heart attack. She had an acerbic wit and practical approach to grief that resonated with me. The first 2 months, I just wore his bathrobe and ate cereal for dinner. She told me over coffee after one meeting. Then one day I realized Steve would have been so pissed at me for giving up like that. So I started doing one grown-up thing each day. Showering, cooking an actual meal, going for a walk. It was not much, but it was something. I adopted her one grown-up thing approach. Some days, that one thing was all I could manage. Other days, I surprised myself by accomplishing more. I returned to work part-time, grateful for an understanding boss who allowed me flexible hours. My in-laws checked in regularly, never pushing but always making sure I knew they were there. Michael's mother sent care packages with homemade cookies and silly gifts that made me smile. His father helped me navigate the insurance paperwork and offered practical assistance with house repairs Michael would have handled. "You will always be our daughter," Sharon told me during one of their visits. "That does not change because Michael is gone." Their kindness highlighted the stark contrast with my own family's behavior. My parents had tried calling a few times after our confrontation, leaving voicemails about healing the family rift and moving forward together. I did not respond. Rachel had sent a single text. "You are being ridiculous. Call Mom and Dad and apologize." Jessica was more persistent. Emails, texts, even handwritten letters expressing remorse and begging for another chance. I read them all but felt nothing but a hollow ache where our friendship had once lived. Dr. Anderson helped me work through my feelings about these contact attempts. "Setting boundaries is not the same as holding grudges," she reminded me. "You are protecting yourself from people who have proven they cannot be trusted with your vulnerability." 4 months after Michael's death, I made the difficult decision to sell our apartment. Every corner held memories, both beautiful and painful. I found a smaller place across town, close to a park Michael and I had often visited. The day I packed up our bedroom, I discovered a sealed envelope in his nightstand drawer. Inside was a letter he had written during his final weeks, when he still had the strength to hold a pen. "My dearest Nina," it began. "If you are reading this, I am gone, and you are facing life without me. I am so sorry to leave you. Loving you has been the greatest joy and privilege of my life." His words flowed over 3 pages, reminiscing about our time together, encouraging me to find happiness again, and expressing his absolute confidence in my strength and resilience. "You are so much stronger than you know," he wrote. "I have watched you bend, but never break under the weight of your family's indifference. Now, I hope you will use that strength for yourself, not just to endure, but to thrive. To build a life filled with people who see your beautiful heart the way I always have." I clutched the letter to my chest, sobbing but also feeling a profound connection to him. In these words, he was still guiding me, still loving me, still believing in me. That letter became my talisman. I carried it with me to therapy sessions, to support group meetings, on the difficult days when grief threatened to pull me under. Michael's faith in me became the foundation upon which I slowly rebuilt my life. 6 months after losing Michael, I joined a volunteer program at the hospital where he had received treatment. Twice a week, I sat with cancer patients during chemotherapy, offering conversation or quiet companionship. It was painful at first, triggering memories of Michael's struggle. But gradually, it became healing to channel my loss into supporting others facing similar battles. Through volunteering, I met Elaine and Frank, a couple in their 60s who had lost their son to cancer 5 years earlier. They took me under their wing, inviting me to Sunday dinners and treating me with parental affection that never felt forced or conditional. Grief connects people in strange ways. Elaine told me one evening as we washed dishes together, "It is like joining a club no one wants to belong to, but once you are in it, you find family you never knew you had." Around the same time, I discovered a talent for writing about grief and healing. What began as journal entries became blog posts that resonated with others experiencing loss. The community that formed around these writings became another source of connection and support. My in-laws visited for the 1-year anniversary of Michael's death. Together, we went to Lake Michigan and scattered some of his ashes as he had requested. The day was clear and bright, the water a brilliant blue that matched the urn I had selected. "He would have loved this day," his father said, arm around my shoulders as we watched the ashes merge with the water. "He would have been proud of you," his mother added, "of how you have carried on." I nodded, unable to speak through the lump in my throat. But for the first time, the grief felt manageable. Not gone, never gone, but woven into the fabric of my life, rather than consuming it entirely. That evening, I received an email from my mother. The subject line read, "Family emergency." The message was brief: "Your father has had a heart attack. Rachel's wedding is postponed. We need your help with medical bills. Please call." My finger hovered over the delete button, but curiosity made me search online for information. A local news article confirmed my father had indeed suffered a heart attack, though it appeared less severe than my mother's email suggested. Another article mentioned Rachel's fiancé, Bradford, had called off their engagement amid rumors of financial impropriety in his law firm. For a moment, I considered responding. Then I remembered the video of them laughing at Michael's illness, their absence at his funeral, their attempt to cut me out of the family trust. Instead of calling, I researched financial assistance programs for medical expenses and sent the information to my mother's email, with no personal message attached. Jessica had stopped contacting me months ago, but Sarah ran into her at a coffee shop and reported back. "She asked about you, said she misses you but understands why you cut contact. She and your sister had some kind of falling out too." I nodded, feeling a distant sadness but no desire to reconnect. Some bridges, once burned, cannot and should not be rebuilt. As the seasons changed, so did I. The woman who had stood alone at her husband's grave was still part of me, but no longer all of me. I had built a life Michael would have been proud of, surrounded by people who valued me for exactly who I was. I still spoke to him sometimes, especially at night. I told him about my day, my small victories and setbacks, the new friends I had made. In my heart, I could hear his encouragement, his laughter, his love. "You were right," I whispered to his photo on my nightstand. "I am stronger than I knew." On the 2nd anniversary of Michael's death, I took the day off work and drove to the cemetery. The headstone was simple but elegant, just as he would have wanted. I placed fresh flowers beside it and sat on the small bench I had installed nearby. 2 years, love," I said aloud, no longer self-conscious about talking to him. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, and sometimes like another lifetime. So much had changed since that rainy day when I stood alone as they lowered his casket. I had moved into a cozy house with a garden where I grew vegetables and flowers. I had been promoted at work and started teaching a grief support workshop at the community center. I had friends who called just to check in, who remembered Michael's birthday and our anniversary, who understood that my grief would always be part of me, but did not define me. I had not spoken to my parents or Rachel in those 2 years. My mother still sent occasional emails, especially when they needed something, but I no longer felt guilty for maintaining my distance. The family that had failed me in my darkest hour had lost the privilege of being in my life. As I sat reflecting, a familiar figure approached from the cemetery path. Jessica, looking nervous, carrying a small bouquet of flowers. She stopped when she saw me, clearly unsure if she should continue forward or retreat. "I can come back another time," she said. It is okay, I replied, surprising myself. You can put those down. She placed her flowers beside mine and stood awkwardly for a moment before speaking. I come every year. I did not expect to see you here today. You visit Michael's grave? I asked, genuinely surprised. Jessica nodded. I know it does not make up for missing the funeral. Nothing could. But I wanted to pay my respects, to acknowledge him properly, and to remind myself of the worst mistake I ever made. For the first time in 2 years, I really looked at my former best friend. She seemed older, more subdued. The fashionable, always put together Jessica I had known had been replaced by someone more authentic, less concerned with appearances. How have you been? I asked, not quite ready to discuss deeper topics. Okay, different. Rachel and I had a huge falling out after everything. She expected me to take her side completely, and I just could not anymore. It made me realize how toxic our friendship had become. What happened with her engagement? I heard it was called off. Jessica sighed. Bradford's firm was being investigated for fraud. He dumped Rachel when it looked like he might be implicated. Turned out he was only with her for her family connections anyway. She was devastated. And my parents? I asked, surprised by my own curiosity. Your father recovered from the heart attack. They had to downsize their house because of the medical bills. They are not speaking to me either, since I refused to cut Rachel off completely. We sat in silence for a few minutes, the weight of our shared history and fractured relationships hanging between us. I am sorry, Nina, Jessica finally said. Truly, deeply sorry. Not just for missing the funeral, but for years of not being the friend you deserved. For getting caught up in Rachel's orbit and forgetting what real friendship means. I studied her face, searching for sincerity, and finding it. Thank you for saying that. I do not expect forgiveness, or for things to go back to how they were. I just wanted you to know that I recognize how badly I failed you, and that losing your friendship has been the hardest consequence of my actions. We talked for nearly an hour, catching up on our lives but also acknowledging the pain and betrayal that had torn us apart. Jessica had been in therapy too, working through her own family issues and tendency to seek approval from the wrong people at any cost. Michael would be amazed at the woman you have become, she said as we prepared to leave. He always saw your strength, even when you could not see it yourself. He did, I agreed, touching the headstone gently. He taught me what real love looks like, and his love gave me the courage to demand better from everyone else in my life. We exchanged phone numbers before parting. No promises made, but a door left slightly ajar that had been firmly shut for 2 years. That evening, I hosted a small dinner at my house. Sarah and her new boyfriend, Elaine and Frank, a couple from my support group, and Susan and Richard, who had helped me through the immediate aftermath of Michael's death. As we shared a meal and laughter filled my home, I felt Michael's presence in the warmth of the gathering. Later, after everyone had gone, I sat in my garden under the stars and reflected on the journey of the past 2 years. I had lost my husband and my family of origin, endured betrayal and abandonment, felt pain I never imagined surviving. Yet here I was, not just surviving, but creating a life of meaning and connection. The deepest lesson I had learned was that family is not defined by blood or legal ties. Family is made up of the people who show up when you need them most. The ones who hold space for your pain without trying to fix it or minimize it. The ones who celebrate your joys without jealousy or conditions. I had also learned that setting boundaries is not selfish, but essential. That forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. That some relationships are too damaged to repair, and that is okay. Most importantly, I had discovered my own resilience. The strength Michael always saw in me had finally become visible to myself. I carried his love not as a burden of grief, but as a gift that continued to sustain and guide me. As the stars twinkled overhead, I whispered to the night sky, "Thank you for loving me, Michael, for showing me what I deserve. I am building a beautiful life, just like you wanted for me." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and for a moment, I felt embraced by something larger than myself. Not alone, never truly alone. If you are watching this and struggling with toxic family relationships or grief, please know that healing is possible. It does not happen overnight, and the path is not linear, but you can build a life filled with authentic love and connection. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who hurt you? How did you find the courage to put yourself first? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and healing. Remember, the family you choose can be more meaningful than the family you were born into. Thank you for listening, and I wish you strength on your own journey.